What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith, one of the hot spots for NFL draft content and anything in the college football NFL world. We got you covered. I got a special guest here today. Now, first and foremost, today's topic is going to be Cam Ward and who in the transfer portal next year could potentially take his place.
No!
Because we got to keep the rain going. You know, hurricanes, I know they only last so long, but we got to keep the storm coming. That being said, I have a storm of talent. And before we get to a topic and the different names that would really fit this offense, I want to introduce you a special guest, very special guest, one of my favorite people in the space, Alex Donno from Locked On Canes with Sports Illustrated. He is on the show with us here today. Alex, how you doing today, man?
Doug, I'm doing great, man. So thank you so much for having me. And you know, it's easy to be doing great when, you know, I went to Miami. I've been a Miami fan my entire life, and I cover the Hurricanes because I've covered a lot of tough years. You know this. I've covered some tough seasons. To see this team off to a 9-0 start with the most exciting quarterback in the country, it's been a lot of fun so far.
Dude, it is epic. You know, it's crazy. I live in San Antonio, Texas currently at the moment, and he went to UIW up the street, and they're still talking about the 10 touchdowns he threw in 2 games. Like, he's that guy.
One of his seasons there at Incarnate Word, like he threw for like 47 touchdown passes in one of his years. I because whenever I pull up his stats, I'm like, oh, I obviously it's a different level of competition, but maybe he can do something like that this year with the pace he's on.
Yeah, he is having a Joe Burrow-esque type year. As we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we're going to talk about who in the potentially in the transfer portal could fill the power vacuum of Cam Ward. Do you have any names in mind, man? Or
yeah, I do. Now, first, I have to say this because I'm not 100% sure that they will go the portal route. I think they're open to that because I know, and we'll talk a little bit later about the guys who are on the roster right now. But I'm not 100% sure. And I don't think Miami is 100% sure. It might depend on who they think is going to enter the portal at the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, a couple names I'll bring up, and maybe you've got others in mind. Now, first and foremost, I know that this guy is not necessarily lighting it up this year like he was last year, but he has the same offseason quarterbacks coach that Cam Ward has. He and Cam Ward are very close friends, and they're actually cousins, and that's Kyron Drones from Virginia Tech, he's got similar abilities. Like I watch, and you know, Virginia Tech has been kind of hot and cold this year. He was injured last week, Drones. So like he's, you know, if you look at his stats, like he may not be putting up like the numbers that kind of look like, oh, this guy's one of the elite quarterbacks in America, but he's got that ability. And very similarly to Cam Ward, I had a chance to watch Drones in person at that crazy Miami versus Virginia Tech game earlier this year. Yeah, he, you know, you can tell they have, you know, the same quarterback coaching because he moves similarly toward the way he extends plays. Sometimes he'll take some risks in throwing across his body, but a lot of times the big play potential, you know, can kind of match or you know, go against the risks that he's taking out there. And the guy's an absolute gamer. And again, like I know Virginia Tech fans are like, well, why are you trying to steal our quarterback? I can't say for sure that he would hit the transfer portal, but you know, he and Ward are very close. They're related. I'm sure they've had conversations about, you know, the good time that Ward is having playing for Miami and playing in this offense. So I definitely wouldn't rule out a guy like that. You know, I kind of wonder what's going on in Southern California right now with Miller Moss. You know, I know the way he lit it up at the end of the year last year, really good at times. You know, I see he's been benched now. So that's someone you could look at who may think about hitting the portal. The ability for him is definitely there. Maybe not like as close of a fit to the current offense as a guy like Kyron Drones would be, but I wonder if that's somebody who may hit the portal and Miami might go after, because I would imagine he's going to be in that transfer portal.
Love that, brother. Yeah, that dude, Kyron Drones. First of all, coolest name in college football. Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
a drone.
Drones strike is what when he throws a touchdown. Yeah. Virginia Tech social media, they really every time he throws a big touchdown, they put out the video. They say another drones strike, which is I think it's awesome.
Oh, brother, I love that. Dude. Yeah, there's a believe it or not, there's quite a bit of good quarterbacks right now that could potentially, and obviously I know this will be someone in the comment section, but they didn't say it yet. Of course, we're having fun. It's a fun episode. Stop typing. Being offended is not a skill meter. Anywho, Kane's up. You guys know what time it is. There's a guy. So I've been following James Madison for the last 3 years. It's been a really fun up and coming college football program. Now, as far as stature, he's not a super big guy, but the guy I'm talking about is Alonzo Barnett, AB3, they call him, man. He's 6 foot tall. He's a sophomore, and he is lighting it up. 18 touchdowns so far this season and 2 interceptions. Very mobile quarterback, very twitchy. He's from North Carolina originally, but that would be a guy I think would really flourish in this offense because he is a throw first but quarterback, but I feel like he doesn't have the receivers as he should over in for James Madison, or JMU as the locals call it, right? So that's a guy I'm looking at right now, man. And I watch him, and he looks like an NFL quarterback. Definitely would say, hey, pack on another 10 pounds, maybe. But he has a body frame very similar to Jalen Hurts. Very, very similar, and great pocket presence. I mean, he goes through all his reads, and I see him picking people apart. And then when everybody is covered, he'll take off up the field for 30 yards.
That's what I love.
He's a Heisman in training, man. He's a Heisman in training. And he's just a sophomore, and he's playing like this. And James Madison, like, they keep upsetting big schools. So he keeps putting himself in these big time positions to win. Freaking love it, man. I freaking love
and
it.
just to add to the big picture, you would imagine Miami could be a really attractive spot for a transfer quarterback. In fact, like at the time when Cam Ward decided to go to Miami, some people thought, hey, is that worth the risk for him? Because, Mario Cristobal, he had this, I think a lot of it was unfair, but he had this reputation as, he's a quarterback killer. He's going to keep handcuffs on his quarterback. Quarterbacks don't flourish in his offense and all that. And instead, Cam Ward this year, there's been, not only are there no handcuffs on him, he has the control to change plays. Like, he's very much involved with what Miami is doing. And you see the numbers that Ward is putting up. So I think the success that Ward is having this year in Miami's offense, they completely shattered any myths about quarterback killer, run first offense, all that. I think that's going to make Miami more attractive for quarterbacks, not to mention, the strength of a Mario Cristobal team is almost always going to be the offensive line. So, your protection's going to be pretty good down in South Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any young guys over there in the team that you feel could be developed that are really just a hidden secret? I know you're on the ground with the troops kind of thing. Anybody you could think of it all, or?
Yeah, a couple. And it's one of those things where I think when if you're going to think about going out and making a portal move, and maybe Miami will, maybe Miami won't, you also have to understand that, are you upsetting the development of your own quarterback room, right? Because when you have a couple guys with big talent in your QB room, if you go out and grab a guy in the transfer portal, you're probably going to lose a guy. I think, to me, the one that I'm highest on is Emory Williams, who is in his second year. He had a couple appearances this year and actually had some really good throws this year in relief for Ward, late in blowout games, that kind of thing. People will remember Williams, and this is actually one of the reasons why a lot of Miami fans are skeptical of Williams. He started 2 games last year as a true freshman, which happened to be the 2 best defenses that Miami faced, right? He went up against Clemson, and, he didn't put up big numbers, very good defense, but he played well enough. Miami won that game in overtime. They had to lead a comeback in that game. He started against Florida State, which was not the Florida State of this year, who can't beat anybody. It's the FSU of last year, who started 13-0. And he, again, the play calling was very conservative against, arguably the best defense Miami faced all year. Had Miami at least in position to potentially drive down the field for a game tying. He actually broke his arm during the final drive. Tyler Van Dyke replaced him and threw an interception, which was like his signature move last year. So Emory Williams. So one of the reasons why a lot of Canes fans are like, I'm not so sure, was the 2 times we saw him last season, he was a game manager. Like, they were very careful, true freshman quarterback. He is developing. He recovered from that broken arm, recovered very quickly. He went through all of spring football, all of fall camp, and I saw some really good stuff from Emory during fall camp, so I don't rule him out. Miami also does have an experienced backup quarterback who should be back next year, Reese Poffenbarger, who, he put up big numbers at Albany.
Awesome name.
But yeah, great name. But I feel like just based on what I've seen in practice, I feel like Emory is a little bit ahead of Poffenbarger. And then, Miami also has Judd Anderson, who's a true freshman this year, who may be more of a developmental guy, but he's 6'7" with a live arm. But I don't know if I don't think he would be ready to be a starter next year. I think potentially a couple years down the road. The guy who excites me most, who I don't think would be ready to start next year, is actually going to be coming in as a true freshman next season. Luke Nickel, who state champion quarterback in Georgia, Milton High School in Georgia, the highest high school classification. He's just a tremendous, accurate thrower and intelligent. He's actually coached. His 7-on-7 team is coached by Cam Newton, and he's a Cam Newton protege. He's learned a lot from Newton, and he's got some drip. Luke Nickel, like he's a really he's got a lot of swag. Really talented quarterback, but again, like he'd be coming in as a true freshman, so probably wouldn't be ready to start next year. I think Emory Williams would be the most likely guy if Miami doesn't go to the portal.
I love it. I love it. My big gem of the episode, for me personally, and he's kind of, I don't want to say he's buried on the depth chart. This guy was one of the best quarterbacks in all of California. Going into his sophomore year, Julian Sayin. He's a freshman over at Ohio State.
Yeah, great player.
Dude is a baller. Now, I initially heard of him. I interviewed Zach Marshall, who's currently he would be considered the third string tight end over for Michigan. I had him on the show probably about 2 years ago. So I've heard about Julian for a while, and I was like, well, Zach, you're really good, but who's that quarterback? Who is he? And I grew up, fun fact about me, I lived in Japan 6 years, so I like anime. Awesome. I'm not a big anime, but I lived there for a long time, so I know about Super Saiyan, and the guy's name is Julian Saiyin, and I'm just saying that is a cool name. But what's even cooler is what he puts out there on the field, man. This guy, and just on Ohio State's website right now in high school, dude, for 2,769 yards and 34 touchdowns as a sophomore, and then 2,700 yards and 27 touchdowns as a junior. Played in the Under Armour All-American and the Polynesian Bowl. Led Carlsbad to their 5th straight Avocado League title. I don't know what that is, but it sounds great. But this is a guy, it's cool to see the little bit of practice footage that I've seen online of Julian, and he is, dude, he's one of college football's great secrets. And look, Joe, all I'm saying, when you pry people from that quarterback room, ask Joe Burrow, great things could happen. And I think Julian Sayin could be another massive name that just not enough people are talking about. Man.
Yeah, I remember covering his recruitment because, Miami made a run at him. They didn't get very far with Sayin, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he was committed to Bama, and then Saban retired, and that's how he ended up at Ohio State. But yeah, I mean, he was the name that kept coming up. Like, you're talking about top quarterbacks in that class, guys like Julian Sayin and Air Noland, which is another amazing quarter. I don't think Air is his birth name, but he goes by Air Noland, was another great quarterback in that recruiting class. So you got some good ones out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, comment below. Let us know if there's somebody that we missed, somebody that maybe we could have done a little bit more of a deeper dive. And who knows, man, maybe we revisit this topic again in a few weeks. Before you hit like or comment, before you do any of that, do me a favor, do Alex a favor. I'm gonna have all the stuff to his show down in the description of this video. Go ahead, check him out. This dude is out here doing beautiful work. If you want to get educated on college football and different players, man, he's literally interviewed Mario Cristobal, Cam Ward. I mean, he's been out there on the ground with the troops, man. So one of my favorite people in the industry, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Donno. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Doug Smith, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir, brother. Thank you for watching another episode of The Touchdown with Doug Smith, where we have exclusive NFL content and exclusive NFL interviews. Be sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. Follow us on social media. See you on the next one.